On August 11, 2026, Patria and KNDS Deutschland signed a framework agreement to assemble a Finnish armored vehicle on German soil. That single signature completed the transformation of a modest 6x6 troop carrier into the most widely ordered wheeled armored vehicle in Northern Europe. Germany has committed to a program worth more than 2 billion euros, covering up to 876 vehicles. Finland, Latvia, Sweden, Denmark, and now Norway are already inside the same program. Lithuania has approved a purchase of up to 936 more. Cumulative orders now exceed 2,200 vehicles, with more than 400 already delivered. And the vehicle at the center of it is not the most protected, not the most powerful, and not the most advanced wheeled platform on the European market. It is one of the cheapest. So the question every European army is now answering is a simple one. Why did the continent's richest land force choose the modest option over the exquisite one? Germany's problem was old and well understood. The transport Panzer Fuchs entered service in 1979. It is a 6x6 armored transport, and for more than 4 decades, it carried German engineers, reconnaissance teams, chemical detection crews, and command staff through every deployment the Bundeswehr undertook. It was a good vehicle. It is now an old one. Its protection was designed against the threats of the Cold War, not against modern shaped charge mines or the electronic warfare environment of a peer conflict. Spare parts grow harder to source every year. Worse, the only active production line for the design sits in Algeria under license, which meant Germany could not simply order more of its own vehicle. The same story repeated across the north. Finland was still running the Posse, the XA-180 and XA-185 families that first entered service in the early 1980s. Sweden fielded the same basic Finnish hull under its own designation. Latvia operated a mixed inventory of second-hand vehicles with no common logistics behind them. Lithuania still depended on the M113, a tracked American design first fielded in 1960. Across 6 armies, the protected transport fleet was collectively somewhere between 40 and 60 years old. Then Russia invaded Ukraine, and the arithmetic changed. The war demonstrated something that peacetime planning had gradually forgotten. Armored vehicles are consumed. They are lost to mines, to artillery, to drones, and to simple mechanical attrition on roads never built for military traffic. A force fielding 200 exquisite vehicles it cannot replace fights very differently from a force fielding 800 adequate ones it can build more of. NATO's northern flank looked at its own numbers, then at the length of its border with Russia, and reached the same conclusion at roughly the same time. It needed mass. What these nations built first was not a vehicle, it was a purchasing mechanism. In December 2019, Finland, Latvia, and Estonia signed a letter of intent to develop a Common Armoured Vehicle System together. Estonia withdrew the following year and bought a Turkish design instead. Finland and Latvia continued, selected the Patria 6x6 as the platform at the end of 2020, and deliberately left the door open. Sweden walked through it in 2022. Germany followed in 2023, Denmark, the United Kingdom, and Norway all joined during 2025. The vehicle that answered the requirement is deliberately unremarkable, and that is the entire point. The Patria 6x6 has a maximum combat weight of 24 tons with hydropneumatic suspension, or 22 tons on coil springs. That means it crosses the ordinary road and bridge network of Northern Europe without special routing, which matters enormously in a region where reinforcement travels along civilian highways and ferry links rather than purpose-built military corridors. Empty, it weighs around 16 tons. Payload is 8,500 kilograms. That gap is the most important number in the whole design. It means the buyer, not the manufacturer, decides what the vehicle becomes. Armor, weapons, sensors, mission equipment, all of it comes out of that margin. A nation that decides it needs more protection buys more armor instead of buying a different platform. Power comes from a Scania 5-cylinder diesel producing 294 kilowatts, roughly 394 horsepower. Road speed exceeds 100 kilometers per hour, and range is around 700 kilometers. That means a company can deploy itself across a national road network overnight without transporters. And transporters are precisely the scarce asset in any real mobilization. It climbs a 60% gradient, holds a 30% side slope, and crosses a 1-meter trench. Those figures describe a vehicle that can leave the road when the road is cratered or mined, which in practice is the difference between a convoy that keeps moving and a convoy that becomes a target. Baseline protection is STANAG 4569 Level 2, Ballistic and Mine. In practice, that defeats standard rifle caliber threats and roughly a 6-kilogram mine detonating under a wheel. It upgrades to Level 4, which raises the mine threshold to around 10 kilograms and the ballistic threshold to heavy machine gun fire. Level 2 is not glamorous. It is also considerably better than what most of these armies actually had. Here is the detail most coverage of this vehicle gets wrong. It is not amphibious as standard. It fords 1.5 meters. Swimming requires an optional kit with twin-shrouded propellers, and the vehicle must sit under 21.5 tons to use it. Germany specified that capability. A great deal of reporting simply assumes every buyer receives it. Crew is 2, with up to 10 dismounts, and stowage inside the hull for a 72-hour mission. That means an infantry section deploys carrying its own supplies, rather than depending on a supply chain that may not exist in the first week of a war. The variants are where the program earns its money. Troop carrier, command, medical evacuation, engineer, reconnaissance, fire control, and the Patria Nemo turret, a 120mm mortar that can open fire in under 25 seconds and displace before counter-battery radar responds. Germany ordered 69 of those mortar carriers with an option for 61 more. The design also shares its structures and components with the larger Patria armored modular vehicle, the 8x8. One fewer axle, same parts bin, one logistics tail for both. Before the comparison, one thing worth saying. If defense procurement analysis at this level of detail is useful, subscribing costs nothing and keeps these breakdowns coming. It genuinely helps this channel reach the people searching for exactly this kind of work. So what did 6 nations choose this vehicle instead of? Start with the strongest rival, stated honestly. The Boxer is one of the finest wheeled armored vehicles ever built. Developed by a German and Dutch consortium, it uses a drive module and mission module architecture, meaning the same chassis converts from troop carrier to ambulance to infantry fighting vehicle by swapping the rear module in under an hour. Its double V hull protection ranks among the best in its class. It carries a 30mm cannon variant that can fight rather than merely survive. Germany, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, Australia, Lithuania, and Slovenia all operate it. Nothing in the Patria specification beats it in a straight capability contest. The Boxer lost on arithmetic. It weighs between 38 and 45 tons depending on configuration. Published figures put a British Boxer at roughly £5 million per vehicle once the program is amortized, and Australia's Land 400 Phase 2 came to around $25 million Australian dollars per vehicle, including full program costs. Estimates for European infantry fighting variants run between 7 and 9 million euros. Now compare. Sweden's 415 vehicles cost roughly 610 million euros in total. That works out close to 1.5 million euros each. Latvia's contracts sit near 1 million. Independent analysis places the vehicle between 1 and 1.2 million euros. For the price of a single Boxer infantry fighting vehicle, a Northern European army buys somewhere between 5 and 7 Patrias. That is not an argument that the Patria is better. It is an argument about what each vehicle is for. Germany did not replace Boxer with Patria. Germany operates both. The Boxer equips the heavy mechanized brigades that fight. The Patria carries the engineers who breach obstacles, the reconnaissance teams that find the enemy, the command staff who direct the battle, and the mortars that support it. Those roles need presence and numbers far more than they need a 30mm cannon. The German competition was closer than the outcome suggests. Rheinmetall offered the Fuchs Evolution, an upgraded version of the incumbent. General Dynamics offered a 6x6 from the Pandur and Piranha lineage. Both are credible designs from established suppliers. Both lost on cost and on availability. The uncomfortable detail German press coverage seized on is that it proved cheaper for Germany to license a Finnish design and build it in Saarland than to buy an improved version of the German vehicle it already owned. The mechanism behind all this deserves examination, because it is the part other European programs keep failing to copy. Members join through a sequence of agreements. A technical arrangement first, then a research and development agreement, then a framework agreement, then a life cycle management agreement. Each nation orders its own vehicles in its own configuration, but development costs, test data, technical documentation, and long-term support are shared across the group. A program office in Finland coordinates it, the first multinational defense materiel project Finland has ever led. The European Union endorsed the model with 60 million euros of joint procurement funding in November 2024. The practical effect is that a nation joining in 2025 inherits 5 years of completed development work and orders into a running production line, rather than starting a national program from a blank sheet. Which brings in the rival no procurement document ever names: doing nothing. Every one of these armies could have run its existing fleet another decade. What ruled that out was the calendar. Denmark ordered 129 vehicles in July 2025 and received its first 2 at Almagard Barracks on Bornholm roughly 2 months later. Germany signed in December 2025 and took delivery of 5 pre-production vehicles at Zeithain in Saxony by February 2026. In an era where major European procurement routinely runs a decade from contract to first delivery, that is the whole argument. The criticism deserves stating plainly. This is a Level 2 vehicle in a war where cheap drones are destroying far better protected platforms. Latvian-built Patrias serving in Ukraine have been photographed carrying locally fitted mesh cages over the hull. That is not a defect unique to this design. Every wheeled carrier in Europe now needs added top attack protection. But anyone claiming this vehicle is survivable by default is not reading the war correctly. Latvia was the first export operator, and its experience explains why the program spread. Latvia signed in August 2021 for more than 200 vehicles, then added 56 command and control vehicles in November 2024. Crucially, it did not simply buy them, it built them. Defense Partnership Latvia, a joint venture between Patria and a Latvian manufacturer, opened a plant at Valmiera in May 2024, and the first Latvian-made vehicle was handed over that August. For a country of under 2 million people, that plant represents an industrial capability it did not previously possess. Latvia then did something unusual. It funded and sent 42 of its own locally built vehicles to Ukraine. Defense Minister Andris Spruds framed the transfer as both aid and evaluation, describing it as a way to test the strength and combat readiness of domestically produced vehicles under real combat conditions. Those vehicles now serve with Ukrainian assault units. It is a rare case of a European army receiving genuine combat feedback on a vehicle still in production. Germany's path runs the other way, from purchase toward production. 10 Swedish specification carriers arrived first for verification and instructor training. Finnish-built engineer vehicles follow through late 2027. Then, German assembly begins at the Friesen plant in Saarland under the agreement signed this August, with technology transfer running through KNDS alongside 2 other German firms. Serial deliveries ramp from early 2027, and full operational readiness is targeted for 2029. The ambition is larger than the contract. In July 2025, the German Chief of Defense approved a requirement for up to 4,000 new generation transport vehicles for the period beyond 2035. If that requirement is funded, Germany becomes the largest operator of a Finnish armored vehicle by an enormous margin. Part of that demand is already visible. Germany is standing up Panzerbrigade 45 in Lithuania, roughly 4,800 troops, its first permanently forward-based brigade since the Second World War, with full operational capability targeted by the end of 2027. A brigade sitting that close to the Russian border needs protected mobility for every supporting function it performs, and it needs it on a schedule. Capacity is now the constraint everyone watches. The main plant at Hämeenlinna in Finland employs around 700 people and is undergoing an expansion worth 40 million euros, intended to roughly double output by 2027. Patria has also brought in a former passenger car factory at Uusikaupunki to add hundreds of vehicles a year. Norway signed the program framework agreement in May 2026, the step that unlocks serial ordering, though quantities remain undecided. Lithuania's State Defense Council approved up to 936 vehicles in the same month, with a contract expected in 2027 and local assembly planned. The United Kingdom joined in September 2025, with Babcock at Devonport named as the build and support partner, and quantities still under negotiation. 6 NATO nations, soon 7, chose the same vehicle, not because it wins comparisons, but because it can be bought quickly, built locally, and fielded in numbers. That is a doctrinal statement as much as a procurement one. It says Northern Europe expects a war of attrition rather than a war of precision, and it is buying accordingly. It also says something uncomfortable about European defense industry. A Finnish company of modest size achieved what decades of European harmonization initiatives could not, by making commonality cheaper than nationalism instead of merely mandating it. Patria's chief executive has called the 6x6 the European standard. That is vendor language, but the order book keeps closing the gap. The real test arrives in 2027, when the German lines start running and the program has to prove it can deliver at scale.